Red Boy asks how to formulate the premise of a joke correctly, aka the joke doctor uses lists. When it comes to the premise, I think what I focus on, I don't really focus on formulas as much because what I found is when you use formulas all the time, you can start to sound more formulaic on stage. And I like to be conversational and come off a little more naturally on stage. So I think it is important for comics to learn and understand that technique, because that understanding of how to create a misdirect, how to set up the audience to think in one direction and then create a surprising misdirection, I think is essential to your long-term goals of maybe doing storytelling or things like that. You can have all the confidence in the world and all of that, but if you don't have jokes, then the audience isn't really going to laugh. And that's a really important part of comedy, having jokes. So I think it's always important for comics, especially starting out, to do one-liners that understand the structure of creating a setup and a misdirect. So when it comes to formulating a premise, what I try to focus on is just making sure the premise is as clear and simple as possible. And with that, basically asking yourself, what am I trying to say with this joke? What is like the message of this joke? What is the foundation of this joke that I'm building this idea on? And sometimes if a joke isn't working, it's because your premise isn't clear enough or simple enough, or the audience just doesn't understand what your premise is. So when you're formulating the premise of a joke, just focus on making it as clear and simple to understand as possible. But I always like to think of a premise having some sort of emotional foundation to it that you can then build upon. And that is something with you now more than ever, there's more comedy education out there. There's more comedy information out there. There's more people talking about comedy than ever. What's important is to, yes, you can learn from these different people, but at the end of the day, it's finding out what works for you. So there's no real right way in comedy. There's only your way. So as you learn these different techniques and tricks, you may take a little bit from what you learned over here, and then everything else doesn't really apply to you. And then maybe you take a little bit from what you learned from this person over here, and you just try it out and see what works for you.